Michonne's loneliness tastes like iron, like blood that isn't hers. When we first meet her, she's no longer an ordinary woman. The apocalypse forged her on the anvil of absolute loss. Two dead things drag behind her on chains, Mike and Terry, once men, once fathers, once more than walking meat. That was before Andre, before the 3-year-old who died while they were too stoned to hear his screams. She let them turn, watched with the patience of someone who's already lost everything, then cut off arms and jaws. Same precision she once used cutting vegetables in her Atlanta loft, when life still meant art exhibitions and wine. Not cruelty, justice in its purest, most terrible form. They failed to protect a child. This choice forces us to the question, where does humanity end? Mike and Terry breathed, walked, but they'd abandoned the one duty that made them fathers, friends, men. Michonne executed a sentence older than any written law. You failed to protect the innocent, so you'll carry that failure for eternity. The chained walkers aren't just practical camouflage. They're monuments to betrayal, condemned to wander. For months, she talks to Mike's animated corpse. Not from madness, but because complete silence is another kind of death. Talks about weather, about canned food, about everything except the boy. Andre exists now only as a hole in the world, an absence with weight and form. Loneliness roars louder than screams. Aristotle said man is a social animal. Whoever lives alone is either beast or God. Michonne is neither. She's the in-between, shaped by necessity. Talking to the dead isn't madness when silence threatens to erase who you were. It's resistance. The refusal to let your own be the last human voice you hear. She saves Andrea because saving is still a verb with meaning when everything else became dead noun. Andrea is sick, vomiting blood, and Michonne wipes it away without expression. This is what we do now. Wipe each other's blood until it's our turn to bleed. Here lies the greatest contradiction. The woman who mercilessly punishes those who fail to protect never leaves anyone behind herself. Trauma didn't make her cruel. It made her uncompromising about what caring for another human means. Their friendship grows on hostile ground because both recognize in the other the same stubbornness to keep existing. Andrea wants to believe in walls, in men with answers. After months in the desert, any mirage of civilization looks like oasis. But Michonne developed a sixth sense for lies. Not paranoia when you've already seen the world end. Woodbury is everything Michonne learned to distrust. Town with walls, rules, charismatic leader called the governor who smiles too much. Men who smile too much usually hide things in aquariums. Andrea wants to believe, wants to rest. Michonne doesn't know that luxury. She sees the dead soldiers, knows the story doesn't add up. Sees walkers in the arena, understands this civilization rots from within. The aquarium full of severed heads, and Penny, the governor's undead daughter, confirms her suspicions. Michonne doesn't hesitate. The katana pierces the skull with years of practiced precision. For him, still his daughter. For Michonne, just another lie that needs burying. She knows the temptation to cling to the dead. That's exactly why she knows when that bond becomes disease. The confrontation was inevitable. The glass shard enters his eye surprisingly easy. The eyeball bursts like rotten grape. Poetic symmetry. The man who refused to see the truth about his daughter, now one-eyed. Michonne could have killed him. Should have. But Andrea appears, weapon drawn, and Michonne chooses differently. Killing the governor in front of Andrea would sever the last thread between them. Andrea stays in Woodbury. After months of mutual protection, after forging this impossible friendship, Andrea chooses illusory comfort. Michonne doesn't beg, doesn't argue, just leaves. Andrea chose, now she'll live with the consequences. You can't save people from themselves. Rick's group sees her as strange, potentially dangerous. She carries the basket of supplies she saw Glenn and Maggie take before the kidnapping, but explains little, acts more than she speaks. This economy isn't shyness, it's distilled philosophy. Wittgenstein said, "Whereof one cannot speak, thereof one must be silent." Michonne understands, some truths are shown. Most words are crutches against silence. Michonne embraced silence, made it her home. But she acts, saves Herschel from walkers, helps Carl recover Laurie's photo because she understands. A boy without a mother needs something tangible before the void fills with hate. When she reveals to Rick that she too talked to the dead, she's saying, "I know your madness. It's kin to mine." Merle tries to kill her, then apologizes. Michonne stays silent. Not from inability to forgive, but because forgiveness isn't something to verbalize. You show it by not killing someone when you could. When Merle kidnaps her to deliver her to the governor, then changes his mind, frees her, Michonne tries to convince him to return. Redemption is possible, she suggests. He refuses, she accepts. Some people must die as they choose to die. Rick almost handed her over. When he apologizes, she accepts without drama. No room for resentment when each day could be the last. Accept what can't be changed, act on what can. Simple mathematics of survival. Rick made a bad decision under pressure, then corrected it. Moving forward is all that matters. Andrea dies in the torture chamber, bitten by transformed Milton. The entire emotional architecture Michonne built since Andre begins to crack. She cries. Real tears, not the weeping of the living, but the lament of losing something irreplaceable again. She stays with Andrea in the final moments, forgives all wrong decisions. Facing death, betrayal becomes small. Andrea died trying to do the right thing. Michonne's katana is more than weapon. It's body extension and philosophy in steel. Each calculated movement, no flourish, no waste, carries samurai discipline and stoic hardness. Violence reduced to honesty. I choose to live, you're in the way. One of us must stop existing. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Execute each action as if it were the last." Michonne lives this literally. No room for error when each encounter could be fatal. Her martial skill isn't mere talent, it's violent meditation, total presence in the instant between life and death. The always clean blade isn't obsession, it's insistence. In chaos, patterns still exist. There are still things we do because we choose, not because we must. Michonne's silence is eloquent. In a world plunged into chaos, where people constantly scream fear and rage, she offers conscious stillness, speaks when necessary, acts when crucial. The rest is inward contemplation. In this lies wisdom of Eastern philosophers, of monks who understood. Silence isn't absence, but concentrated presence. By the end of Season 3, Michonne has integrated into Rick's group. Not completely, never completely, but enough. After Andre, after Andrea, finding people who don't demand she be more than she is, that's already miracle. She didn't find family. Family died with Andre. She found purpose. And purpose is more reliable anchor than love, when love is dangerous luxury. Protecting these specific people isn't grandiose destiny. It's her choice each morning. Today, I choose again not to let them die. Meaning is created in the act, renewed each time the katana finds dead flesh before it reaches living. The woman walking with katana on her back carries worlds within, carries the weight of others' failures, echo of conversations with ghosts, memory of a child who'll never grow up. But she also carries something unexpected, hope. Not the naive hope that everything will be fine, the hard, scarred hope that persists despite all contrary evidence. The hope that says, tomorrow we might die, but today we choose to live with dignity. Michonne forces us to face the question, everything lost, who would you choose to be? She shows, tragedy doesn't automatically purify or destroy. It only reveals who we always were, strips away layers until only the core remains. Then we choose, monster or human. Michonne chose human, not the hero human, but the broken human who kills when necessary and still feels the weight, who carries dead on chains but forms bonds with the living, who lost a child but protects others' children. True courage isn't absence of trauma. It's not letting trauma become excuse. Loyalty isn't proclaimed. It's demonstrated in silent presence. Forgiveness doesn't need forgetting, only the choice not to poison the future with the past. Andrea was 3 when he died. Michonne has a katana now. Between these truths lies an abyss nothing can fill. But she built a bridge over that abyss, plank by plank, day by day. Keeps crossing because stopping would mean falling. She already fell once. Once was enough. She remains human, relentlessly, painfully human. In that lies her deepest victory.